Hello, people of the internet. This is the first episode of Queerology with Soe Noire. And I would like to welcome our first ever guest on this show, Kenyatta Muzzanni Robles. Yippee! Do the confetti. Kenyatta is a Brooklyn born writer, organizer, and filmmaker. They live at the intersection of arts and organizing, having been a writer and participant in social movements since they were young. Kenyatta recently completed their first short film, Be Here Now. They are a 2024 Brew and Forge Fellow, as well as a 2024 Mark Natham Social Justice Fellow. Their writing has appeared in Island Magazine, The Hartford Current, the 2024 Straw Dogs Online Journal, and elsewhere. You can find them online at kmrobles.com and K_Muzzanni. Okay.
That was amazing. Thank
I try my
you so
best.
much for that warm welcome.
Of course, of course. And we are basically just going to jump right into it. The first question would be, how did you get into writing?
How did I get into writing? I have always been a writer. I can remember writing my first short story at the age of 10 about dragons on my home computer.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything else that my short story was about, but I have always been writing. It came to me, and I first started writing short stories. I think that was a medium that I fell in love with, writing short stories, and I've had a very interesting career as a writer and an interesting experience as a writer in general. I think I more recently came into really respecting myself as a writer more recently, but writing has always been within me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And dragons. Yeah, we love to see some sci-fi.
I
Mhm.
remember my grandmother was going through Alzheimer's at the time, and she always told these like wonderful, fascinating stories. So I dedicated the story about dragons to my grandmother.
That's amazing. Next question would be, when do you feel the most energized to write? When do you find the most like when that writing, that inner writer really jumps out?
I think it's really easy to say one when inspiration strikes.
Mhm.
And that for me, of course, when you're inspired, you're writing feverishly. All you want to do is get the thoughts out on paper.
Right.
And I will say, in addition to when inspiration strikes, I am often most encouraged to write or find I have the most energy to write. Really, when I'm going through something, some trials and tribulation, or there is something internal or external, often how I process will be through art. And so if I'm experiencing something that I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't even fathom taking another step, I immediately have to get a pen and paper out, or I go to my phone and start writing in my notes app. Or if there's something happening in the world that I really can't comprehend, which there's not a shortage of that happening, or
Yeah.
if I feel the need to create something, that's really when I feel most energized. When there is that energy and friction moving through me, I have to move it and create something from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say like I definitely have in at least in recent years finding that that's like definitely my approach to things, like using writing as a form of, would you say like it's like a form of like processing?
I think that's part of it. Some of
Mhm.
it definitely is an opportunity to process what's happening and to really transmute, right?
Yeah.
When you have energy, like we're all filled with energy,
Mhm.
right? That energy has to go somewhere, and energy is never lost or destroyed, it's just
Mhm.
transformed. So I can transform it into some writing. And that for me has often been one of my go-to mediums when I need to express myself.
Yeah, and that's a superpower for real.
Yeah,
Oh,
I appreciate that because
mhm.
writing, it may not have always felt like that, but it definitely feels more of it now. I feel
Right.
that more now.
Yeah. So a couple months ago, you released your film Be Here Now, your first ever film. Can you give
Yes.
a short summary of your film for those who have not seen it yet?
I really really appreciate getting a chance to meet you at the screening. It was such a
Yeah.
highlight. So just thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining after seeing it on the internet where folks are also listening in. So the
Of
internet can bring
course.
amazing things.
Yeah.
So a short synopsis, Be Here Now is a short film that centers around an unemployed artist and writer with a fear of clowns who comes home and is greeted by a clown version of themselves in their bedroom. Together, they talk about existence, resistance, and what it means to be human. And that is what Be Here Now is all about. It is my first short film, my first non-stop motion and non-student film while in school.
Mhm.
I did not study film professional. I studied psychology and philosophy, but I've always dabbled in art. So I made short films like in my spare time. But Be
Nice.
Here Now was truly a labor of love and came from the depths of my soul. And I do have a fear of clowns, and that is very real.
Mm. Yeah, not to so not so I don't have to spoil it for anyone else. So I don't want to give any spoilers. So if you want to see the movie, see the short film, Be Here Now, I recommended y'all tap in. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, thank you.
but yeah, do you mind if you don't mind me asking going into like where that fear of clowns like originated and came from?
I appreciate you asking about the fear of clowns, and I'll
Mhm.
also weave how I got to creating Be Here Now,
Mhm.
because I know it might seem strange and almost counterintuitive. If you have a fear of something, why base a short film off of this?
Yeah.
And this,
Mm.
I will spoil it a little bit, but it won't
Mm.
be true spoiling. In the
Right.
film, I play two characters, one of whom is a human, all the good things, and the other version and the other character that I play is a clown version. So much like I do share some of this in the film, but I have had a fear of clowns since I was a kid. The movie It came out before, like right before I was born. The miniseries, not the remake. Um, that original one with Tim Curry. There was my mother loved clowns, or maybe liked clowns, so there was a clown portrait above my bed. I had clown toys. I had clown paraphernalia, and I've always just like disliked clowns. I've had weird, strange vibes from them, and as I have gotten older, some of my root of this is this idea of people who are deceiving others. And there are historically people who have dressed up as clowns to do horrible things. The
Right.
first person that often comes to mind when people think of clowns that are evil are is John Wayne Gacy, who
Yeah.
was a serial killer,
Mm.
and dressed up as a clown intentionally to lure young boys whom he harmed.
Mhm.
So I think a lot about what it means to deceive and what clowns, how people have like manipulated the origins of clowns or manipulated these figures that are seemingly cute figures that are supposed to be for kids, but end up being really harmful. As I was coming up with Be Here Now, I had also been previously exploring a lot of clowning in theater.
Mhm.
So, for folks who are not familiar, clowning is an actual style of, it is an actual artistic style. People go to school, there's clown colleges, and clowning specifically in theater is one way to engage the audience in a more positive, more jovial fashion and have the ability to say these really hard things in a very comical manner.
Mhm.
And so clowns have existed throughout time. And in various forms, they have done this, whether we're talking about the modern day clowning, which comes from Joseph Grimaldi, who is an English clown who I make references to in the film, or whether we're talking about court jesters in medieval times, in medieval Europe, or whether we're even talking about like modern day clowns or modern day pantomimes. That's where the word mime and clowning comes from, pantomime, like Rowan Atkinson, who folks know as Mr. Bean. Like he is, in every literal sense of a word, a clown or a mime. So, and in all of these, whether we're talking about Joseph Grimaldi, medieval clowns, or someone like Rowan Atkinson, while there is so much humor in the work that they're doing, there is often a telling of a truth telling that you don't often sometimes, that is sometimes harder for people to connect with drama, but people can connect it there through clowning. So my fear of clowns, I've somewhat come like full circle in not just like learning to intellectualize where it comes from, but
Mhm.
even feeling like my real own emotions behind it. And I've learned to look at clowning very differently. Do I want to be around a clown? Absolutely not. Yeah, y'all can keep that. But I have a respect and an understanding more than I did when I was younger.
Yeah. And thank you for all the clown lore. I did not know. I didn't
Let's
I
get into
know
the
yeah,
lore.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I knew the kind of know the thing about like John Wayne Gacy and all that, but like the things about like the mimes and stuff, that's some new information. I also heard that clowns are also like slightly racist. Like they're based off of minstrel show.
Mm. So,
Yeah.
so that was a part of even doing my research.
Mhm.
Like, I actually looked up actors who, forgive me, I think his name might have been Bud Williams, but he
Mhm.
is one of the like more prominent African American minstrel actors. And
Mhm.
so the original like style of clowning it doesn't have its roots in minstrel shows. However, minstrel shows have taken from clowning. And so
Okay.
that's like important. But
Yeah.
even modern day clowns, like if you look at The Simpsons, Krusty and Sideshow Bob,
Mhm.
they got the same hair as me. Like
Yeah,
they've
the
taken, they've taken
right. They take an aspect. I like
um
the overlined red lips and like the I think like the gloves and like sometimes they wear like the fake afros. It's very side eye worthy. It's like I'm seeing some parallels that I do not like
mhm,
actually. Yeah.
100%. And even when I was doing the research and looked up the actors who were Black actors in America who were playing minstrel characters,
Mhm.
it was that can be a whole segment in and of itself.
Right.
One person who was much more light skinned, he even like darkened his skin. So it's
Oh,
like there's so much that even goes into that. Like this idea that in order for you to make it as an actor
mhm.
back in the time, the 1920s,
Right.
this light-skinned black man felt the need to put on a literal be
Right.
in a minstrel
Right.
show
Like a
while acting. It's
caricature.
giving Drake.
Right. That's what I know.
Yes.
Absolutely. Catch it. Aubrey Graham. Oh, absolutely. Giving very much no, like I absolutely see that. I like almost like a caricature of yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, what are your inspirations for the film?
I drew from a lot of different sources. I drew from a lot of I did draw from traditional clowning media to create the character of the clown. And so an actor, writer, director that I have enjoyed since I was younger is Charlie Chaplin. I have grandparents who were born in the 1920s. So for me, the silent era and silent films and like the golden era of cinema it feels very familiar and within reach. So I watched a lot of Charlie Chaplin films. I watched The Kid, I watched The Gold Rush, I watched Modern Times, which is my favorite Charlie Chaplin film to date. I watched a lot of Buster Keaton segments. So Buster Keaton is also an actor from the silent era. So I watched a lot of older filming surrounding clowns or mimes. Like Buster Keaton would be really considered a mime of that time to really flesh out that character, as well as other clowns that I did enjoy, like Lunette the clown from The Big Comfy Couch. She is an
Oh
accountability
yeah, yeah,
queen.
I know that one.
We love her. There's something. I'll come back to the clowning, but I'll come back to inspirations. But I do want to name. I loved The Big Comfy Couch as a child, which is so strange because it's a clown. I hate
Yeah,
clowns,
right.
but something that always stuck with me is how Lunette was super accountable to herself. And at the end of every episode, there was a segment where she has, "Hey, who made this big mess?"
Mhm.
And there's like a crash zoom on her face
Yeah.
and like the audience is the camera and it's like me, the camera shakes, I did, well, I guess I better clean it up, and she cleans it up. And it's
Yeah.
like, isn't that something, there's something about that, especially in movements,
Mhm.
and we'll get to like the organizing portion of this film, but
Yeah.
there's an accountability there that I really just appreciated, and
Yeah.
there's something in there anyway,
Yeah.
outside of like those
A
traditional
very
clowning.
what's the word? Conscious clown. I love
We'll take
that.
a I'll
Yeah.
take a conscious clown.
Yeah.
Like there's you know, we could talk about the clowns that exist in our current like political landscape,
Yeah.
but
Honk honk. Yeah,
there's gonna
absolutely.
be, yeah, a lot of that going on. I appreciate that. And then outside of that, to create the rest of the film and really to create the character of Kenyatta that I play, I watched a lot of media that, for me, represented a lot of duality or had a type of truthfulness with comedy that I wanted to explore. For instance, Chewing Gum by Michaela Coel is
Mhm.
something that I turn to a lot. Fantasmas by Julio Torres is a piece that I turn to a lot. Phantasmas actually opens with Julio in a dunce cap, which was
Yeah.
quite. I was so struck when I saw that. And other media that represent a duality, Orphan Black, which is a TV series that I like. That's an English TV series, as well as films like the movie Legend, who stars Tom Hardy playing these two characters. So I delved a lot into media that I think really fit within the character of Kenyatta, as well as I watched a lot of cinema where actors played off of themselves or played multiple parts, and that was helpful for me to even think about conceptualizing what do shots look like?
Mhm.
Do I want both of them in the single shot? How can I achieve that with the tools that I have at this moment? How can I scale that? If I can't do that for this film, what tips can I learn to bring this into my next project?
Yeah, and that's what I really that's what like while watching it, I was like it kind of made like because filmmaking feels like a very gate kept, very like I don't know, like there's that aura around it, like finding ways to make like filmmaking like accessible, basically. Like even if you don't have the expensive camera, like figuring out like different shots and like ways to make it like you can make your vision without having to buy like a $4,000 camera.
Yeah. May I speak to that just for a second?
Yeah.
I am a harm reductionist at heart. And for folks who are listening in who may not understand what harm reduction is, it is a philosophy and a style of a way of change and a way of looking at the world. And it comes from drug user organizing. So people who actively use drugs who are organizing for their own rights. And there's a common phrase of you meet people where they are and don't leave them there. And the
Right.
idea is that you're helping to reduce the harm that has happened to a person either by themselves or for the state. But that phrase of meeting people where they are, I took that when making this film because I think it's so easy for us, like you were naming as creatives, to
Mhm.
say, oh, if my goal is to if I'm a chewing gum, if that is
Mhm.
my inspiration, how am I going to make it look like chewing gum? Girl, it ain't gonna look like chewing gum because you don't got chewing gum
Exactly.
money.
Right. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you can meet yourself where you are. So if you
Mhm.
got an iPhone, why don't you use that iPhone
Right.
instead of trying to buy this, 400 like dollar DSLR or $2,100
Right. And
DSLR
then go
camera?
through
Like,
the
no,
yeah, the hoops of trying to learn how to make that or spend like how much money to get like a whole crew to shoot the whole thing, like using that like mentality of yeah, like meeting yourself where you're at, but like also applying it to like your artwork and your work and seeing the beautiful things that come out of it. Because we all got to start somewhere.
precisely.
Mhm. But yeah, I would say that what would you say would be like the challenges you faced while making your film?
There were so many challenges.
Yeah.
Every day was a new challenge. One of the first challenges was set design and set. Where am I going to have it? Where am I
Mhm.
going to film? And ultimately, like relying on the tools that I had at my disposal, my own home, my own items.
Mhm.
Um, I have had experience doing filmmaking prior to this movie,
Mhm.
so prior to the short film. So I had had experience using certain equipment. I had to get my computer fixed before I made the film.
Mhm.
And when I got my computer fixed, I can no longer load the software that I was used to using to make my
Ah,
films.
yeah.
And so I had to think creatively and say, okay, well, you got this deadline, you got people coming to the space, you got to make a film. So
Mhm.
having to get creative and use alternative software and really not letting that stop me and say, you know what, okay, just because I can't use DaVinci Resolve 18, which was what I had wanted to use,
Mhm.
I have InShot.
Mhm.
I have Clipchamp on my computer,
Mhm.
and I know enough about editing to
Apply that
make
knowledge.
things.
Yeah. Mhm.
Precisely. So there were so many problem solving that I had to do, and it was such a difficult but beautiful experience because there are going to be challenges in everything. And working through those challenges really taught me, one, that I can do hard things, and two, often the challenges, like, yes, there are very real material challenges. If I had the equipment to have had,
Mhm.
DaVinci Resolve and maybe an editor that I could have hired, it could have been
Yeah,
different. But you can't get there until you learn how to problem solve with the challenges with where you are.
exactly. Yeah, it's basically just like it's a journey.
Yeah.
What was your favorite aspect of the process of making your film?
I'd say three things were my favorite.
Mm.
One, playing the character of the clown was incredibly healing and cathartic,
Mm.
and a reminder of what who I can be and what I can accomplish. Full stop. I'd say second, actually putting pen to paper to get started. I remember the first time that I sat down and said, okay, I really am going to do this. And if I'm going to do it, I have to do it right.
Yeah.
And the first time I created my schedule backwards. So, like, from the day that I wanted, I had an estimation of, like, hey, I should have a screening on this day at this time,
Mm.
and working backwards. It was really fun to do that because it helped me do something from start to finish. And there's something that happens to you when you can plan, put something down on paper or pen or like computer and then
Yeah,
execute
you
it.
know,
There's just
it's like like because it's one thing to like think about it. It's one thing to oh, and it's one thing to even like talk about it and even like bring up your friends like, guys, I'm making a film. But it really is like if almost it's almost like magic. I like not like people that are really like
it is.
crunchy or like woo-woo, if y'all are into like manifestation and stuff, like scripting and like really like writing it down, like I am going to do this thing and this is how I'm going to do it. And like something about just like actually writing it down, it really helps like visualize it and like actually makes like oh wow, it makes like this thing is like actually real, like I'm actually making a thing.
Like, whoa, what a concept. I can like build something from nothing.
Right, exactly.
It rewires your brain for you to understand even like what you can accomplish,
Right.
truly. I'd say, and then I'd say the last part about filming and making this film that was my favorite is who you are when you're nearing completion.
Yeah.
Something I take from a creative colleague of mine is art is never finished when it's done. It is only finished when it is perceived by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no control over that. And so as I was nearing the end of this process where it was, okay, this first screening is coming to, like this baby's about to be in the world.
Yeah.
It was
Delivery
I
date.
felt myself. Yeah, like okay, like you're about to be induced,
Yeah.
maybe, because we live in America, so we induce everybody.
Yeah.
The person I was at the person I was like April 20th, 2025 was a very different person than I was September 24th, 2024, when I decided this was the film that I was making. And
Yeah.
that felt absolutely amazing.
Yes. Okay, so next question is what is the best advice you have been given about creating your work?
The best advice I think that I've been given about doing the creative work is both do it scared and you have to create a way for yourself.
Hmm.
I think there is such a we are so fearful, especially those of us who live in America. We live in a country that just pumps fear into our brains, and
Yeah.
it's very so much of doing creative work is vulnerability, both vulnerability of your own stuff that's coming up
Mhm.
and vulnerability of the fear of being seen or perceived. And I know that's something I struggle with often. I'm very
Yeah.
much a
Me too.
like
Count me in that. Yeah.
don't perceive me today. Like
Yeah.
that's cool. But I had to do it even with the fear of being misinterpreted, being misunderstood, um being scared. And so I definitely feel like that's one of the best advice, forgive me, doing it scared. And then I would, like I said, creating a way even when there is none. Um, there will never be a perfect time for anything. And as a person who decided on what this film was going to be last year, I was 32 last year. And I think about how Ava DuVernay didn't pick up her first film camera until 32.
Mhm.
And you have to create a way for yourself. And she didn't start by going to filmmaking school. She
Mm,
started in PR.
mm,
Um, and there was this, I think throughout creating this film, I had such a drive in me to say, like, create the way for yourself, even if there is none. So I created this film also as a project for a fellowship that I did with Brew and Forge that you mentioned at the beginning.
yeah.
And the project was never to create a film, but I decided I wanted to create a film because I wanted to make a
Yeah.
film.
Above
So
and
create a way.
beyond. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I need to put both of those on a sticky note near my mirror because that is something I also really like deal with as like a creative like that. Like always pre-planning. As a hi, I'm So Noire and I am a recovering perfectionist.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that being
Same.
said, I am always like trying to make like, oh, don't do this project. Don't put out that song. You don't know how to make, you don't know how to mix. You don't know how to master. Learn how to do this first. Learn how to do this first. Then make the thing. Oh, you're bad at that. Learn how to do that first. Watch a million YouTube videos, graduate a 4 year program of YouTube University before you do this thing. But there's never going to be a perfect time because you can watch all the videos, you can keep watching all your favorite things, watching favorite creators. There is never that like perfect moment is never going to come. You're never going to feel prepared. So just do it, learn from the mistakes, and keep it pushing. That I think
I
that's
love that.
yeah, I think that's like the best way to go about things. And if you don't have the materials, just do it anyways. Find a way. If there is a will, there is a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that being said, I mean, I think that kind of answered this question a little bit, but what's a piece of advice you'd give to Black queer creatives that want to create art?
Oh, well, my advice to Black queer creatives who would like to do art.
Yeah.
Number one is that you are being watched by the people who need to see you. And that, like, it feels uncomfortable. And I know so much of being Black and queer, I feel like so often so much of our bodies are commodities.
Mm.
It's extractive. People are taking things. They want to pick our brain. Hate that phrase. They want
Yeah.
to, I'm gonna keep it real. Everybody Black, but nobody want to be a nigga.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's sometimes I think extraction that comes, but I want to name that the people who need to see it are watching you and will see it. And as an example, I read this book called Freshwater in 2021 by a Nigerian author, Kweke Emezi,
Oh, yeah.
and it absolutely changed my entire life. And the genre of um, Freshwater was described as Black queer surrealism. And that blew my freaking mind. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, what are those words? I know what these words mean, Black queer
Right.
surrealism, but what? And I went out, I read this book and it took me on such a journey. And that has been actually a space that I'm trying to live in. So,
Mhm.
like, my advice, folks are watching you and you don't even realize. Like, Emezi has no clue, like, what their work has done for my personal life, my professional life. But I am hoping that someday someone will see this film or something I write, and I will never know what comes of it, but I hope that that person is transformed. And we are often, as Black queer artists, we are often marginalized. And I know that for a very long time, I took a posture of, oh, I have everything I'm saying, other people have said it before, whether
Mhm.
it's June Jordan or Audre Lorde
Yeah.
or Akweke Emezi
Mhm.
or there are so many, who have spoken things. Okay,
Mhm.
but you've never said it, but you've never put it with your spin. And so I'm really trying to live in that space of doing the thing because the people who will need to see it will find it,
Mhm.
whether you are even alive to see them find it. But if you feel it in your spirit that you have to get it out, let it come out of a pouring of love or whatever it has to be,
Mhm.
rather than keeping it in because you are afraid or other folks have told you your voice is not worthy. Fuck them.
Right. Exactly. And that's very powerful and very beautiful. It reminds me of like I don't remember who the exact I think it was I feel like it's a Tupac quote. Like even if I'm not gonna be the biggest like poet, I want to say things that sparks the next one or something like that, because you
Mm,
never know, like the things you're making, like that could, even if you're not like the bell hooks of whatever medium that you have, what you're saying, what you put out there, no matter what equipment you use, whatever you're like, anything that could be somebody's like the catalyst, like that could be that could be somebody's like canon moment where they're like, wait, I can do that thing too. Like
yes.
yeah, you never know, and it could, even if it's just one or two people, like that impact for someone, like that's very 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 cool. But yeah, I would
Mm.
say the final question would be, how can people watch and support your film?
Thank you so much again, even just for giving this opportunity. Be Here Now it is not, my baby is living and my baby is continuing to grow. So I'd say number one, definitely check me out on my website. Thank you for sharing it earlier. It's KMROBLES.com. Or check me out online, K underscore MUZZANNI double Z double N. Um, and I'll be having additional screenings of Be Here Now. So you'll get this exclusive because I'm about to share it for the first time tomorrow. But I'll be having a screening in Hamden, Connecticut on July 10th at 6 o'clock. And I will be doing a virtual screening soon. So there will be plenty of opportunities. And by the end of summer, I will also be putting Be Here Now on YouTube. So it is accessible for folks to see. And like you said, hopefully it sparks other people being like, I want to pick up a camera and do something fun. You should have fun with it. That's what this
Yeah.
whole thing is about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is I'm trying to think of the word people use, called Connecticutites, Connecticutians. Watch out, July. Yeah, we want to see some people in them seats, actually. Yeah, so everybody keep an eye out. Thank you so much for being the first ever guest on Queerology with Soe Noire. I am
I'm
so
super
excited.
honored. Thank
Of
you so
course,
much.
yeah. And that's a wrap.